mode.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. What we are covering in today's session is the new upgraded Realist public records system. So your current Realist system is going to be going through an upgrade in the coming week, next week actually. And you'll have a new, brand new interface to use, a new upgraded version of the program to use to search the public tax records. So that's what we're going to look at today. My name is Ross Casebeer. I work at CoreLogic, based out of Greensboro, North Carolina. And I'm going to be taking you through your upgraded Realist system today. If you've never been to one of these webinars, basically the way they work, you can see my screen and you can hear me through either your computer speakers or if you've called into the conference call option. I cannot hear you. It's strictly one-way audio communication. If you can hear me and you can see my screen, you're good to go. You figured that part out yet? If you get disconnected for any reason during the course of the webinar, log back in the same way that you did. Just make sure you've got the same audio selection over there on the right-hand side of your screen. There's a little panel that loads over there on the right-hand side when you log in. You do have the ability to hide that little panel. I think there's a red button up there in the upper left-hand corner of it if you want to minimize that panel and get it out of the way. It may have already minimized automatically. And there is the ability to type in questions over there on the right-hand side. I don't have anyone with me to type questions or to type answers directly back to you. So if you do type a question in, you may not get an answer right away. It may have to wait until the presentation is finished. But hang on the line afterwards, and I'll try to get you an answer if I can. So if you do have any questions during the course of this, you might want to just jot those down first. We may cover that at some point. And then if you want to type those in a little later, you can. So without anything further, we'll go ahead and jump in here. Next week on Tuesday, the August 9th, we're going to be converting your current Realist system over to the new version. So to access the new version, it'll be seamless as far as the MLS is concerned. The buttons that you normally use within the Tempo system to get into Realist will remain the same. So you'll have the tax link up there at the top to take you into either the county site or into the Realist program. And also the tax ID link that you see on the actual listing displays, that will be converted over to take you into the new version of Realist. So nothing you'll need to do on your end of things as far as getting into the new system. You'll just access Realist the way you always do, and that'll take you into the new version. So you click the links, and that will load up Realist. Let me go ahead and actually jump over into the new Realist program then. So when I click the tax links within the MLS to take me into the Realist program, this is what you'll see. Actually, the first time that you log into Realist, you'll be presented with an end-user license agreement, and you'll need to check the box to accept that and then click OK, and then that will take you into the actual Realist program. So go ahead and accept that end-user license agreement, and that'll log you into Realist. Once you get inside Realist, this is the page that you will be presented with to start with, and you'll notice a couple things here. There's several windows, several panels available to you to start out with. You have some search options over here on the left, you have a map over here on the right, and then you have a grid down here below the map for your search results. So when you come into Realist to start out with, you're actually brought into the search page, and the search page is essentially the home page in Realist. So you won't be taken to a home page where you then have to go somewhere else to run a search. You'll just drop right in automatically on a search page itself. If you were coming from an actual listing and you clicked on the tax link, then it would go ahead and open up that property within Realist automatically and show you that property detail report. So if you're just coming in through the main link to just come into Realist without actually clicking from a listing, then this is the page you'll be presented with. So you'll see on the left you have your search fields over here on the left, and we're going to start over there in a few minutes and talk about some of those search options. You have a map up here in the upper right-hand corner which you can move around and search, and you have several map tools that are available to you in the upper right-hand corner here. In the lower right-hand corner then you have a grid. When you run a search, your search results will load on the grid down here as well as the map up here at the top. And we'll take a look at some example searches and how that works today. I want to start with just kind of a quick discussion on kind of customizing this page here. you have the ability to take these dividers and move them up or down or left or right on these different sections to make the section that you're working with a little bigger. So if you want to view the map a little bigger than the grid, you can drag that down there and view your map a little bigger than the actual grid. And then same thing over here on the left-hand side. You can move this, in or out. You also have the ability to simply double-click on the bar over here on the left-hand side, and that'll actually hide that entire search panel over there. So once you run a search and you want to hide that search panel, you can double-click that little divider, and to get it back, it's as easy as just double-clicking again over here on the left, and then it'll load your search panel back up. Okay. Same thing over here on the right-hand side. You'll see right above the grid, there's a change view option, and you can choose between map, grid, and split. Split is the current view that I'm looking at right now. I'm seeing the map and the grid, but if I just wanted to work with the map, I could just click map, and that would automatically hide the grid and then give me a wider angle map to work with. If I only wanted to see the grid and not the map, then vice versa. I could click the grid option here. Okay? And that would simply show me the grid, and it would hide the map. Okay? So it's still there, it's just hidden in the background, and again, I can get to it by clicking on the split view to bring it back. Okay? So I wanted to just start with kind of the general feel of how that page works. Like I said, the search page basically is your home page. When you come into Realist, that's the page that's going to load to start with, and then you can go on with your searches from there. You're also going to see some other options up here at the top, which I want to start with before we actually get into searching. I'd like to kind of take a few minutes and go across some of these options up here. The Preferences tab, let me click on the Preferences tab, and you'll notice when you click from one to the other, it highlights in blue, so that's how you know where you're currently at. For example, if I wanted to go back to the search page, I just click on the search tab up there to take me back to my search page. The Preferences section, I want to take a few minutes and actually start with the preferences. I know it's not the most exciting stuff in the world, but for those of you who are already familiar with Realist Classic, a lot of this will, make sense to start out with, and some of this stuff plays into what we're going to look at a little further on down the line when we get into searching and things like that. So I want to actually start with some of the preferences here, and I'll do that in just a moment. Before I get into the preferences, just let me quickly touch on a couple other things here. The About tab up here, this will take you into some legal information, privacy policy, disclaimers, terms of use. Some rainy day reading if you want to get in there and look at some of that. That's all under the About tab. And then the Help tab contains links to our help user guide, as well as the help desk information. So if you need to give a call to the or an email to the help desk at the MLS office, that information is there. There's also a robust user guide, as well as video tutorials in here that you can watch. Quick little videos on how to, introduction to Realist, how to work with your results grid, how to do a search, how to work with the map tools. So if you want to come back and watch a quick little video on any of this stuff, just go in and access the tutorials section in the help link up here. Okay, as well as a pretty robust user guide for all the information pertaining to the new Realist program. Okay. Out here to the right as well, you'll see a welcome message and your name. You'll also see a link to Realist Classic. So for the first, for a time period there after we go live with the new system, we're going to run parallel with the old system. So when you get into the new system here, if you find yourself, not remembering how to do something, or you're having a little hard time finding something, and you just need to get back over to Classic to quickly do something, you'll have that link up there to take you back to the Realist Classic version. So that'll remain up there for a time period. I think that's probably yet to be determined, maybe 30 or 60 or 90 days, and then that link will go away once everyone's converted over to the new program. So for the immediate future here, you'll have a link to go back to the Classic version if you need to get back to the Realist that you're familiar with already. There is a logout button to log you out once you're done. And then there's also some links up here. If you'd like to follow Realist on Facebook or Twitter, or if you'd like to go to YouTube and watch any of the tutorial videos, there's also a blog you can subscribe to. So if you want more information on Realist, or if you want to keep up to date on the new things coming out and those types of things, you can follow us on any of those social networks up there at the top. Okay. So let me back up here a couple steps. I wanted to start with, like I had mentioned, the preferences. So I'm going to go back into the preferences here. And we'll take a few minutes and go through some of these. Like I said, some of these will make a little more sense once we get into searching, but I want to start with them just to kind of get them out of the way. Over on the left-hand side, you'll see 4 different options here to choose from. And the first option I have selected is report options. And within report options, there's several preferences in here that you can set. These preferences will determine, several things as you're using Realist. Search criteria that's used for the different searches, how your reports display, the different things that are included on the different reports. And I want you to keep one thing in the back of your mind as we're going through here. You can change these in your preferences as kind of a global setting. But as you're going through your different searches in Realist, if you decide you wanted to change some criteria on your comparables report, you can also do that on the fly while you're doing that search. So this isn't the only place that you can change these preferences. You'll be able to change these preferences as you're going through your searches and displays and things like that when running your searches in Realist. So the first setting up here, report preferences under the report options. This is telling the system whether to display the reports in a dynamic or a fixed format. And it's going to be set to dynamic by default, but the difference between the two here is basically when you pull up a property, is it going to show data or is it going to show the fields on that report that only have data in them, or is it going to show all of the fields whether or not they have data for that particular property? So if I choose dynamic, then it's going to clean up any of those empty fields that don't have data associated with them for that property. If I choose fixed, then it's going to go ahead and show all of the fields on that report, whether or not they have data associated with them or not. So it's really a personal preference. I prefer dynamic just because it cleans it up a little bit. It takes out all the empty fields and kind of cleans up the display a little nicer. So that's your first option in there under the report options, under report preferences. I'm just kind of moving down the list here then. Below report preferences, you'll see property detail report. And when you load the property detail report, you'll have the ability to toggle on a few options here, whether or not you want to display the map of the property and whether or not you want to display images of the property. So currently the map is off by default, but if you want to display the map, then you can come in and check that off, and that'll include the map on your actual property detail report. So I'm going to go ahead and check mine off, and I'll save that here in a little bit. At any point, you can come down and click Submit down here in the lower right-hand corner to save what you've done, or you can keep going with any of your changes and then submit them all once you're finished. Okay. So that's your report detail options. When you pull up a property detail report, do you want to display the map and then any images that are available from the MLS as well on that particular property? The comparables report. This is where you can set some preferences and some search criteria so that when you run a comparable search within Realist, what properties is it going to pull up, what search criteria is it going to use, what's it going to display on the actual report. You can choose a number of comparables there, anywhere from the default, which is 20, up to a maximum of 50. You can only include 20 on the actual report itself, so you can only select 20, but you can have the system return up to 50 comparables for your actual search results. Okay. And then for the comparable list, how do you want those to be sorted? Do you want them to be sorted closest to the subject property? Do you want them to be sorted by sale date, by sale price, by square footage? Any of those options you can choose in that little drop down there. And then there's some different things that you can include on the actual report. Do you want to include things like the summary statistics section, which gives you average, median, high, low, those types of things? Do you want to display the map and the property images? Do you want to include any of the values on that particular comparable report, like the value projected by assessment, value projected by square footage, or CoreLogic's real AVM value, which is their estimated value algorithm, which comes up with a value for that property. So at any point you can come in, and if you want to choose to turn those off and not include those on the report, then you can uncheck those and it'll leave those off of that comp report. Down here at the bottom, then, if you scroll down, this is where you'll get into the actual search criteria for your comparable search. How far out around the subject property do you want to search? I've got mine currently set to 1 mile. You can go up to 10 miles. Keep in mind when you're running a search, if you don't find the comparables that you think you should be finding, you can always come in on the fly and you can change that for that particular search that you're running. So even though it's set in your preferences, you can edit it quickly on the fly when you're running your comparable searches. Up here at the top, what data source do you want to search? Currently it's set to both, but you could search to select only tax data or only MLS data, or in this case both. So I've chosen both because the more data I get from my comparable searches, the better off I feel my comp report is going to be. So I'm going to do both there for my data source. And then you'll see any of that other criteria you can adjust accordingly: year built, bedrooms, bathrooms, things like that. How far back do you want to search for sold properties? Anywhere up to 12 months back, or you can put in a specific date range there if you need to. How far out around the subject property as far as square footage and lot area are you going to search? Currently it's set to plus or minus 15%, which means if you're pulling up a subject property of 1,000 square feet, then it will pull up comparables anywhere from 850 to 1,150 square feet in that range. So you can change that if you need to. Currently it's set to plus or minus 15%. Down there at the bottom, then the last two options: what style do you want to choose as far as comparables, if you want to choose a style at all. I don't have any selected there. And then also, what land use code do you want to search? I've got mine set as same as subject, so that I'm comparing apples to apples, obviously when I'm running a comparable search. So, but you could choose a specific land use code if you needed to in there. Okay. So those are your comparable selections in your comparable report for your preferences. Quickly kind of moving down the list here, neighbors report. When you generate a report of the neighbors around a subject property, how many neighbors do you want to pull up? Up to 30. I've got mine set to 20 by default. Again, do you want to display a map and property images at the top of that report? And then how far out around that subject property do you want to search? It's currently set to half a mile, but you can go up to 3 miles there. And then a geographic boundary, anywhere from no preference to several other options in here. So if you wanted to only pull up neighbors within the same subdivision, you could choose subdivision. Or maybe you even wanted to go down as far as the same street. You only wanted to pull up neighbors on the same street as your subject property, then you could choose that. By default, it'll be set to no preference, but if you want to adjust that, then you can do that in your own preferences. Okay. So that's the neighbors report. Neighborhood profile report is a nice report that creates some demographics and things like that. Just a couple quick selections in here, whether or not you want to include the different sections on demographics, schools, and businesses in that area of that subject property. And for the schools and the businesses, how far out around that subject property do you want to search? Currently it's set to 1 mile, but you can go up to 10 miles for the schools and 5 miles for the businesses. How far out do you want to search as far as the schools are concerned, kindergarten through 12th, or higher or lower? You can make those selections in public, private, or both for the school selections. And then also down here in the businesses, how many businesses do you want to return on that report per category? I have up to 10 showing per category. And then what categories do you actually want to include? Banking, childcare, dental, education, shopping, things like that. So you can come in and choose which ones you want. They're all selected by default, but if you want to remove any of them, you can come in and take those out of your preferences so that they're not included on that report. Okay, so that's your neighborhood profile report. Moving down the list then, the last one here, market trends. This will allow you to toggle on or off some of the different sections on that market trends report. For example, the market conditions, the distressed properties, and the financial health. And then also down at the bottom there, what property type and what geography do you want to use to aggregate those graphs when they come up, zip, city, county, so on. Okay. So those are your report options, all up here under the left-hand column there, report options. A couple other quick ones then here, moving down the list on the left, the search options. Some check marks in here. The first one up there, auto open property detail report when a single property is found. If you're running a search in Realist for an individual property and you'd like that property to go ahead and just open up when the system finds it, you have that box checked there, it'll go ahead and just open up that detail report automatically, as opposed to you having to manually open it up when you find that property. So it's really just a preference. Some people want that to pop open automatically and save them a couple clicks. Other people would rather see it come up on the map and then double click on it for it to open. So just a personal preference in there in your search options. Secondly, there display phone numbers registered on the do not call list. Okay. These numbers by default will show on your property detail reports and on your grid. So you'll see the phone number even if they're on the do not call list. However, it will be labeled in parentheses next to the phone number to let you know that they are on the do not call list. Okay? So you don't have to worry about not knowing. It'll show you that in parentheses next to the phone numbers. If for any reason you'd like to simply just hide those, if you don't even want to see the phone numbers that are on the do not call list, then you can come in here and uncheck this, and it simply will not display those phone numbers at all on your reports. Okay. And then the last couple options here, include unmatched sale transactions. This would allow you to display partial records in the system. So the best example I can think of here would be, maybe a new construction, a property where there's been a deed of sale recorded on that particular property with the county. However, maybe it has not been assessed yet. Maybe it doesn't even have a tax ID yet. So you'll see these partial records in Realist sometimes for examples like that. And this basically allows you to include those in your search results. If you uncheck this, it'll leave those partial records out. If you leave it checked, then it'll go ahead and leave those in your search results. And then you can, if you'd like, suppress those past a certain time period. So if you'd like to suppress those partial records older than 6 months or 12 months or 18 months or 24, then you can do that, and it'll leave those out of your search results. Okay. Down here at the bottom, then the last option here allows you to choose how many properties to view in your grid by default. So when you run a search, it'll pull up to 250 properties automatically in those search results. If you'd like to increase that number up to 500 or 1,000, you have that ability, or you can decrease it down to 100 or down to 50 if you'd like. So set to 250 by default, but you could, of course, adjust that if you need to. Okay. So those are your search options. The map options, there's one lonely little option here, the parcel IDs. Do you want the parcel ID or the parcel lines to be outlined by default when you load a map of when you load Realist's map in the top window there? So if you leave that checked, then the parcel lines will automatically be outlined. If you uncheck that, then it will not. You'll have the ability to turn it on later on the map if you'd like. Typically, most people leave that on just so those parcel lines come up by default. And then also the Realist value map option, if you'd like to register for the value map program, similar to what you could do in Classic, this is where you'll go to register for that value map program. And that will allow you to sign up for the value map program. It will send you an email with information on how to integrate that value map program into your website. Okay. So those are your preferences under the Preferences tab. I know, like I said, that's not the most exciting stuff in the world, but I wanted to start with that, kind of get it out of the way. A lot of that will play into some of the stuff that we're going to do here in a few minutes when we run our searches. Okay. So what we'll do now is jump back over to the search menu. You'll notice when you make a change in your preferences, if you leave to go do something else, it will prompt you to ask you, do you want to save or not save? So I'll go ahead and save those changes that I made, and then it'll go ahead and take me to the page where I was headed. Okay. So what we'll do now is we'll take a look at the search page here. Like I said, in the upper left corner, that's how you navigate from page to page here. We're on the search tab right now. In the upper left corner here, you'll see the region that you have selected, or in this case, the county that you have selected to search. You'll notice over on the right-hand side there's an option to change your region. So this will show you the latest recording date that we have from that particular county that you've selected. So I have Tulsa selected currently, and the latest recording date we have in Tulsa is July 26th. If I wanted to search a different county, I could come up here and click Change Region, and it'll give me a list of all the counties in the Realist coverage area. So then I could come through and check off any of the counties that I want to search. One of the new upgraded options here, you have the ability to search multiple counties now. Okay, you didn't used to be able to search multiple counties, but now you can come in and you can check up to 8 counties at one time. And you'll see down here at the bottom, as I'm selecting these, it'll tell me how many I have selected out of 8. Currently I have 6. If I get to 8, that'll change to red to let me know that I can't select any more counties. So up to 8 counties at a time, and you can add or remove those over here on the left-hand side as well, just by clicking the little X. If you've selected multiple counties, up here at the top where it used to tell you what county you've selected, it'll simply just say multiple counties selected. So again, up to 8 counties at a time now, which you can search in the Realist program. Once you make those selections, once you come in here the first time to change your county selections and you click apply, those will save for all your future logins. So each time you log in from that point forward, you don't have to select the counties again. It'll automatically default to what you had selected the last time. Okay. So that's your county selection. That may be the first thing you want to take a look at when you get into Realist next week. Below the region selection there, then you'll see the search tabs, Quick Search and My Search. Let's start with the Quick Search tab. The Quick Search tab is basically just 4 of the most common fields when you're searching for a particular property, either by address, by the owner name, by the listing number if it's a listing within the MLS, and also by the tax ID. So this quick search section here, this is actually the same across all of our Realist programs. So you can't customize this quick search at all. You can't move any of the fields around or add any other fields to it. You will be able to do that over here on the My Search tab in a minute here. I'll show you where you can go in and customize that as much as you want. So from the Quick Search tab, those are pretty much the 4 fields. They're going to stay that way from this point forward. If you want to search by any of them, go ahead and just type in what you're looking for. For example, when you're searching by address, this works a little differently when you're searching by this address field as opposed to how it worked in Classic, because in Classic it was divided into each individual field. So you'd have street number, street name, street pre-direction, post-direction, suffix, prefix, those types of things. In this case, it's all going to be within one field when you're searching by the quick search. So basically you'll see kind of an example there, 123 Main Street, comma, city, comma, state, and then the zip code. You don't have to type in all of that information, but whatever information you do type in, you do need to type in the entire part of that portion. So for example, if I'm typing in 123, let's say I'm looking on a street like Greenwood or Greenbrier or something like that, type in the entire street address, type in the entire street name, because this is not a wildcard search. Because this search field is combined all of these different fields into one, you do need to type in the entire name of whatever you're searching for. Now that said, you could just type in 123 Main Street. You don't have to put in the city, the state, and the zip, and if it finds it, it'll go ahead and bring it up in your search results. But if you're typing in any portion of the actual name of the street, make sure you type in that entire street name for it to come up in your search results. You'll get the best results that way. Okay. When you come over to the My Search tab, you will be able to break those fields out into individual sections. So if you want to search just by the house number or the street name or the suffix or whatever, then you'll be able to come over and customize your own searches over here on the right-hand side through the My Search tab. Okay. Owner name, you put the last name, comma, then the first name, or if you're searching for example, a corporate name like a bank or something like that, just go ahead and type that name in. Any of these fields that you then see with the little operators next to them, for example, the owner name starts with or is, you can drop that little link down there and choose, do you want to do an exact search or do you want to do a starts with search? So they're all set to starts with by default, but if you want to do an exact search, then you can choose is for any of those as well. Okay. So that's kind of your quick search option there. That's where you just want to pull up a single property by address, owner name, MLS number, or tax ID. Go ahead and pop that information in there, and then hit your search button down here at the bottom. For example, let me just put in here some example search here. We'll do a Wilkins search. So I put in the owner name Wilkins, click search. That's going to go ahead and pull up all of the Wilkins within that county. Okay. But you may also notice over here on the right-hand side, I'm not only getting Wilkins, I'm getting Wilkinson because I did a starts with search. Okay, I didn't do an exact search. If I only wanted to pull up Wilkins, I could do an is search, and then it wouldn't pull up the Wilkinsons, it would just pull up the Wilkins. Okay. So that's a quick example there of running a quick search. Put in your owner name there, click search. It'll pull up the results not only on the map, but also on the grid here. When your search results load, you'll see here several columns over here we'll talk about in a few minutes. If you click anywhere on a property on a grid, it'll highlight that property on the map and give you a little hover window that pops up. Okay, so any of them that you click on the grid, it'll automatically highlight that one on the map. Same thing on the map. If you click on one of these on the map, maybe I scroll down in here and I click on one of these properties, it'll highlight that property on the map or on the grid automatically. So you can see the kind of the interaction here between the grid and the map. As you click on these properties, they highlight on the other section as well. Okay. So that's your quick search option there. Let me move over to the My Search tab here. Okay. In the My Search tab, this is where you can get customized with your searches. So if you want to add some other fields to your search, if you want to move some of these fields around, if you want to create your own search forms, you can do that over here on the My Search tab. To start out with, you'll have some default searches available for you that have been pre-built by the MLS. And you'll see up here at the top, there's this little F with a padlock next to it, and it's called General Query. That means this is a search form, F for form. And the little padlock denotes that it's an admin form. So this is one that was built by the MLS that's available for everybody to use by default. And when you first come into Realist to start running your searches, that's the default search that's going to come up, that general query. And you'll see if you scroll down here, it's got some basic fields on it to search by the location or the owner name on a property. If you click the little open folder up here at the top, then you'll see the other admin form that's available for you as well. There's a foreclosure query in here. So if you want to search for foreclosure properties, a quick way to do that would be to go ahead and open up the foreclosure query. And it'll go ahead and open up that form over here on the left, and then you'll see all those different fields, the foreclosure stage, the recording date, distressed sales, the owner name, the subdivision, the city. So it's a great way to come in and search for foreclosure properties. Let me go ahead and open up here again. We'll come back here and click on the general query. We'll load that one back up. Similar to our quick search, you have all those same options here next to those fields. So for example, owner name, you have starts with and is. House number, here's a good example of if you want to get a little more detailed with your address search. House number is set to is, so if I put in 123, it's going to be searching for 123 for a house number. However, if I choose is between, then it'll search for anything in between the two numbers that I put in there. So maybe I'm searching between 123 and 150, and I want to pull up all those properties on a particular street. Then I can do that using the is between option. Okay? Or you can do is greater than or is less than. So you'll see those different operators on those search fields. Any of the fields that you've typed information into, if you want to clear them out, there's a little option out here to the right. You just click the little button and hit clear values, and that'll clear that field back out. You can also delete these fields completely from your search if you'd like. So, for example, if I took house number, if I wanted to take house number completely out, I could come over here and click delete, and that would remove house number from my search form altogether. Okay. What if I want to get that back, or what if I want to add other fields to my search form? Down here in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see the Edit Attributes option. So you click Edit Attributes, and it's going to open up another window on top of everything here, and you're going to see all of those fields over there on the right-hand side that are currently on your search form. If you want to take any of those out, you can come in and just click the X next to them, or you could come over here to the left-hand side and just uncheck them from the options on the left. All of these fields over here are grouped by category as well. So if you're looking for a particular field, for example, the street number field that I took out, maybe I want to put that one back in, so I could come in here, click on location, and then find house number, check it back off. Now I can take house number and move it back up there where I had it before. Okay, so you can see, you can check these, you can uncheck these, you can delete them over here. You can also click and drag them to move them around on the particular section on that search page, and they're categorized by the different type of field you're looking at: owner information, location information, property characteristics like bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, those types of things. So you have all that information over there on the left if you need to sort by that by those fields. Okay. And then when you're done, just click apply, and that will save those changes over here on the left-hand side. Okay. So you can add fields to this, you can remove fields, and you see there's a lot of other fields available for you to search by in there. You can also add multiple values to these fields. So for example, if I'm searching on Main Street, I can come over here and click plus and add Main Street to my search criteria. And then I could come in here and put in another one, Elm. Okay. So you can add multiple values to these fields by using the little plus sign out there to the right-hand side. Okay. And of course, you can delete them if you need to by clicking the little X. If you need to clear everything out at any point, you want to clear out your search results or what you put in as criteria, there's a little clear button up here. Just click clear up there to wipe out your entire search form. Okay. If you'd like to create your own search form from scratch, you have the ability to do that as well. So like I said, you can come in and load up the default ones that are here, and then you can make changes to them by clicking Edit Attributes. But maybe you want to create your own from scratch. So up here at the top, you'll see the Create New Search Form button. So you'll click that. That'll open up a similar window to what we saw a minute ago. And then you can come in and add the exact fields that you want to put on your search. So maybe you want to search by owner name, you want to search by address, you want to search by bedrooms and bathrooms and building square feet and the style of the property. And you can go ahead and do that. Now once you've created that search form, over here on the right hand side you have two options. You can either save it at that point, which is going to allow you to give it a name, or if you just want to create it and see what it looks like, go ahead and click Create, and it'll go ahead and create that search form over here on the left hand side. Okay. Any of these that you see with a little select option, just click that button and that'll allow you to select those items from a list. Okay, so in this option, in this particular case, style, allowing you to choose those styles from a list. Okay. So at this point, you'll notice up here at the top where that little admin button used to be, where there was a little padlock up there and it said General Query. Now it's just an F for Form and it says New Form. So you haven't actually saved this yet. If you were to leave and go do something else or try to log out, it'll prompt you. Do you want to save that form at that point? So at this point, you will go ahead and click the Save button up here at the top. Okay. And it will allow you to save that as a form or as a search. Now the difference between saving a form and a search is the presence of criteria. You'll notice over here the option to save as a search is grayed out currently because I haven't actually put any criteria into this search form yet. So if I were to just save a blank form, then the only option here is to save it as a form. Let's call this My New Form. So now you'll see up here next to F, My New Form. If you were to put criteria in there at any point and then save it, then you'd have the ability to save it as a search because a search contains search fields and values, not just search fields only. Okay, so you can go ahead and put that in there. Call this My New Search. And now you'll be able to see when I go in here to the Open button, I have in here the admin forms that were already available to me. I have a form that I've created, and I have a search that I've created. So you can see the difference between the F and the S there for form and search. Okay. Now you can access those whenever you need to, every time you log into the system. Okay. We have a question about current searches. If you have current saved searches in Realist, unfortunately, those are not going to be able to be brought over into the new program. We weren't able to convert those saved searches, so you may want to. Like I said, you'll have access to Classic for for a good period after we go live. So if you need to take a little bit of time and save some of those searches again, you'll have that ability to get back to Realist Classic. So up here at the top, we looked at the Create New button, we looked at the Open button, we looked at the Save button, and we also looked at the Clear Search button. Any place you see a little question mark, that's a tutorial. So if you want to watch a quick little video on how to run a search or how to use the grid or the map or anything like that, click those little search tutorial links there, and that'll pull up a little video. There's also a little Actions field here. If you drop this little Actions field, some of the items that we've already looked at are repeated in this little drop-down list. the Create New button, which we saw up here, the Open option, which we saw a little folder up here a minute ago, the Save button, which we also looked at, and then the Clear Search button, which we looked at as well. There's also a delete option in here, and this is how you would go in and delete any of your saved forms or searches. So if you had created any and you wanted to delete them, then you could come in, check them off, hit delete, and it would delete those from your form. Okay? And then, of course, again, you can come back in and open up any of the other ones that you want, including the general query. Okay? The Actions field also contains a nice little option down here. This will retain your last 5 search forms that you had loaded or searches. So it's kind of just a running tally of the last 5, whether it was in your current session or a previous session. So if you have a search that you use quite often, instead of going to the Open button and opening it up from there, you can quickly just drop down the actions, choose it from the list here. Your last 5 searches that you accessed will be loaded here, and you can go ahead and load those up from the list. Okay. So that is your search options over here, the ability to customize those, to create new ones, to save existing ones, so on and so forth. Okay, you have the options next to each field here. And actually, one other thing that I forgot to mention, you can take these and actually click and drag these on the fly here as well. So if you want to reorder these fields right there without actually coming down here and clicking Edit Attributes, you can take any of these fields and just click and drag and move them around. And it'll put them where you drop them in the list. Okay. So let's take a look here. Let me do my owner name search again. I'll just do Wilkins again. And let's pull up a property here. First of all, you'll notice when it pulls up my search results here, I get kind of a default grid down here at the bottom. We'll come back and we'll take a look at the grid and some of the options here. I want to point out the first few columns here. If you hover over them, this will show you the MLS. The first column is the MLS photo indicator, so you'll see a little camera button there. If there are photos available that we've pulled over from the MLS, and you can click on the little camera button there, and it'll open up the photos to view directly from the MLS. And you can scroll through them and pull up those pictures from there. The second column is the MLS listing indicator, so you'll get a color-coded little status indicator here to let you know whether or not there's an existing listing in the MLS on that property. So for example, this property here, there's a sold listing matching up to that property in MLS. For this one, there's an expired listing, and for this one, there's an active listing. So you'll see they're color-coded, and you can hover over them. We'll see these indicators a little later as well when we get into the map searching and some of the options on the map. The last 2 columns here then are your foreclosure indicator or your distressed sale indicator. So if that property is in a stage of foreclosure, you'll see an indicator there in the third column there. I don't think I have any in this particular search, but you would see things like pre-foreclosure, auction, bank-owned properties, and then also distressed sale indicators. You would see things like short sales or bank-owned sale indicators showing up in that particular field there as well. So there's an example of a bank-owned sale indicator. So I want to just kind of start there. To open up a property from your search results, you can do one of 2 things. You can come down and simply click on the View Reports button, and it'll open up any of the properties that you have checked off over here. They're all going to be checked by default. So in this case, if I click View Reports, it's going to open up all 126 properties. Or if you want to pull up a specific property, just double-click on that property anywhere on the grid, and it'll go ahead and open up that property detail report. You'll still be able to, once you open up the property detail report, get from one property to the next in your list. Over there on the right-hand side, you'll see a little list over there on the right where you can sort through those properties, and you can click on any of those to go from one to the other. Again, if there's a photo available, there'll be a little thumbnail image over there on the right-hand side from the MLS. If you want to hide that, just click the little double arrows over there in the upper right-hand corner, and that'll give you a little more space to work with on your property detail report. So for this example property that we pulled up, it's got some photos coming from the MLS. As you'll see, it's an active listing in the MLS currently. It's also a bank-owned sale, so it's flagged up there at the top with that bank-owned sale indicator. As I scroll down here, similar to your classic setup, we tried to make these as close to your classic reports as possible: the owner information, the location, the tax info. Your tax and assessment data has been grouped nicely into a little table here now. The 3-year running look at the tax and assessment values, as well as the tax values for this particular property. Okay, 3-year look at that. The characteristics. This is where you'll start to see some composite data, some data that's coming not only from the tax record but also from the MLS. Anywhere that you see this, anywhere that you see these italicized or you see a slash, so for example bedrooms here, if I hover over that, that italicized 3 means that data is coming from the MLS. Whereas if I go down to bathrooms, that 2 is not italicized. That's coming both from the tax and the MLS. It matches, so it's showing 2. For bedrooms, we're only getting data from the MLS, not from the actual tax database on this particular property. Okay? Same thing for full baths. We have 2 in the tax record, 2 in the MLS. So over here on the right, garage capacity, we're getting 2 from the MLS, but nothing from the tax record. So you could see one value, you could see one value that's the same in both places. You could see 2 values that are differing. So maybe for this particular property, maybe on another property it has 3 bedrooms in the MLS but 4 in the tax record, or vice versa. Then it would say 3/4. So you'll see that composite data next to each other in the system wherever it's available. Okay. So there's your characteristics. Estimated value. Again, this is the real AVM value, giving you the AVM value, the confidence score, and the forecast standard deviation. This is a nice new feature. It will tell you what the confidence score and the standard deviation, how those are, what those mean, what those values mean. Basically, higher confidence scores and lower standard deviations are better as far as an estimated value, and that's how it determines the AVM range that it comes up with over here on the left. So keep in mind, whenever you go to print or save or email any of these reports, you'll see down here in the lower right-hand corner the print button, the save button, the email button. You have the ability to take out any of the sections that you see here. So, for example, the estimated value. Maybe you don't want to include that estimated value when you go to email this out to a customer or when you print this out. Down here at the bottom, no matter which option you're choosing, whether you're printing it, saving it to your computer, or emailing it, you'll have the ability down here to do either a quick print or quick email or quick save or a customized one. If you do a quick one, then it's just going to print, save, or email exactly what you're looking at on that particular report. If you do a customized, then you'll have the ability at the bottom there to check or uncheck any of those options that are available on that particular report. So if you decide at this point, before you email this out, you'd like to take out the estimated value, then you can come in and under the property details section, take out the estimated value section. Or maybe you'd like to leave out the market trends report completely. Or maybe you'd just like to take out the financial health section of the market trends. Then you have the ability to completely control the different sections that are included on that printout or on that report, on that email. All right. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up. You do have that ability at any point, save or email the report, and you can customize that, or you can go ahead and do the whole package if you'd like. Listing information, so it's going to show you the most recent listing as well as any other listing history available to it. When we go live, this will actually be a reverse link back to the MLS as well, so you'll be able to click the MLS number and go back to the listing sheet from the actual MLS in another window. Okay. The market sale, the last market sale of that property will show, and then also the sale history of that property. Okay. So you'll see any previous sale history down there, including any nominal sales down at the bottom. So if it were a foreclosure or a marriage or divorce or something like that, you'll see the nominal indicator there, which means money didn't actually change hands in that particular transaction, but there was a change to the deed. In this case, when we're looking at a foreclosure. And then also the mortgage history down below. Now the mortgage history is going to be a little different in the current version or in the new version of Realist. You're only going to see mortgage history for the current owner of the property. So you're not going to see previous mortgage history for mortgages that have been released or satisfied or anything like that in the past. It's only going to show mortgage history for the current owner on that property. Now there may be multiple history entries down there as far as refinances and things like that. new mortgages they've taken out, but it's only going to be for the current owner of that property. Okay. So that is the property detail report. Now, once you've pulled up the property detail report, if you want to pull up any of the other reports, you'll see the tabs up here at the top. Okay, the comparables, the market trends, the neighbors, the neighborhood profile. So, for example, if I want to run a comp report on this particular property, I'll click comparables. It'll go ahead and run the search. It'll bring up any results that it finds through my comparable search. In this case, it only found one comparable based on that criteria that I had saved in my preferences. But if you remember earlier when we were talking about preferences, I said you can change this stuff on the fly. So this would be a good example. Maybe I want to search a greater area around this property that I'm looking at. So down here at the bottom, I can come down here without leaving this report and without going back to preferences up here. I can come down to the bottom and hit modify preferences. And right from there, I can come in and change any of the criteria that I need to change. So maybe I want to double this up. I'll make it 2 miles instead of 1 mile. When you make that change, then down here in the lower right-hand corner, you'll have the option to submit that if you want to submit that just for the search that you're running at that point, or if you'd like to save that as your default criteria and also submit it for the search, then you can click Save and Submit. And in that case, each time you come in, your preferences will already be set to what you changed them to. If I just click Submit, then it's only going to reflect that change for my current search that I'm doing, but it's going to leave my preferences alone in my preferences section. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click Submit. That'll run my search. Now it's pulling up a couple extra properties here for my comparable search. Again, I have the same type of indicators out here. I've got the photo indicator, the listing indicator, the distress sale and foreclosure indicators. I also have a link here to view the detail report. So from here, what I'm doing is actually checking off the comparables that I want to include in my report. If I need to get any more information on any of these, I can click the View Detail Report button and go ahead and open that right up. And I can get more information from there. I can close out when I'm done, and I'm still on my comp search. So from here, choose your comparables that you want to include, and when you're ready, come down to the bottom and click Generate Comps Report. That will generate the report. It will include at the top a map of the properties that you've included in your comparables report. If you scroll down here, you'll get a little search criteria section showing the criteria that you use, and then a summary statistics section. Again, this is in your preferences. You have an option to turn this on or off, whether you want to display this summary statistics section, as well as the values down here, the real AVM value, which is CoreLogic's AVM model, or the value projected by assessment, or the value projected by square footage. So those are options that you can toggle on or off as well in your preferences section, whether or not you want to display those values. So that's your quick little summary statistics section, and then down below that you'll get the details grid for your comparables. So you'll get your subject property and then all your comparables out here to the right with any of the data included for those. To scroll through those, you'll simply just click the little arrows up there to scroll back and forth through those comparable properties. Okay. So that's your comparables report. If at any point you need to change the comparables that you've included, you can always come down here and click Edit Report, and that'll back you up to the previous step where you can check or uncheck those options. Okay. Real quickly then, the last couple items out here, market trends. This is a nice new report option that's available to you. This will create some nice graphs and charts based on some market conditions in that particular area that you're looking at. Things like median home value, median list price, median sale price. And you'll see these are aggregated by zip code, city, and county. When you hover over them, it'll kind of highlight the ones that you're hovering over. Also, if you hover over the graph at any point, you'll see up there at the top, it'll give you a little value window that pops up to let you know what you're looking at there. Okay. So median list price, median sale price, sales activity, the number of sales in those particular areas of that subject property, the rate change of those sales over a rolling 5-month period, the median price per square foot and the median square footage values for those properties. Distressed properties in those particular areas, the number of foreclosures, the rate change, the percentage of foreclosures, percentage of pre-foreclosure, auction, or REO properties in those areas. And then also the financial health, the median loan-to-value ratio, the number of negative equity properties in those areas, and also the percentage of negative equity in those particular areas. So some nice charts and graphs that you can include on your reports as far as the financial health of that particular area, the market trends of that subject property. And again, that's just the market trends tab at the top. The neighbors report. This will run a quick search out around the subject property and pull up any neighbors to that subject property that you're looking at. And give you a nice little neighbors report. It shows, again, a map of the area that it searched, and then down below all of the neighbors and then the details on those particular properties. And again, you can sort through those one by one or page by page down here at the bottom using the little arrows. Okay. So that's your neighbors report, and again, that's based on the criteria that you saved in your preferences, and you can always come down and modify those preferences if you need to. Again, I pulled up 20 properties. I put the map and the images at the top. Maybe in this case I only wanted to see the people on the same street. I didn't want to see the people on the street over, so I could come in and choose a geographic boundary at the same street and then save and submit that. So it's only going to pull up properties on the same street as my subject property. Okay. And then finally, the last option here, the neighborhood profile. This is a nice little, again, it's more graphs and charts that you can include for the demographics in that particular neighborhood that property resides. This is based on the census information, the census tract and block of that property. But you'll get, some nice graphs and charts, population by age, general household information, the gender, marriage information, housing values, year built, owner occupancy, renter versus buyer, mortgage versus rent payments, quality of life, the household income, the commute time, education levels, those types of things. And then you get down into the schools and the businesses, so it'll pull up, based on that criteria, any schools and businesses in that area. Okay. And again, you can control all this similarly to what we did a minute ago down here in the Modify Preferences section. You can choose whether or not you want to include those different sections, how far out or around that subject property it's searching for businesses and schools and things like that. And then, what business categories do you actually want to include on that report as well. Okay. And of course, you can save and submit that at any point. And remember, like we talked earlier, whenever you go to print or email or save any of this information down here, you have the ability to just do a quick email or print of whatever you're currently looking at, or you can do a customized one, which will give you the ability to check off specific items if you want to do the whole package, or if you want to uncheck some of these different items in here to take out of that package, you can do that. Okay. Oops, I didn't mean to cancel that, or I didn't mean to email that. I wanted to cancel that out. So that's your property detail report and the different options up there at the top. Let me close back out of this here. So I'm going to click Close Report. You'll notice that was just kind of hovering over my other search results there. Okay. What I want to do now is I want to take a look at the grid and some of the options available from the grid and from your search results. And then we'll come up and take a look at the map and some of the mapping options that are available there as well. And that should take us to the end of our session. So what I'm going to do at this point, let me actually hide the map up here. So I'm going to click on the grid section down here, which is going to make my grid larger and hide my map. And I'm also going to double click over here on this little divider like we did at the beginning of class. And that's going to hide everything over there on the left-hand side. So we can just work with our grid at this point. So I want to show you some of the things that you can do from your grid down here. Again, you don't have to maximize your grid to do all this stuff. I just like to do it so we can see more fields at one time here. But you'll see here, like we talked earlier, all the indicator columns out here to the left for the photos, the MLS status, the foreclosure, and the distress sales. Any of these fields that you see in your columns, you can reorder them simply by clicking and dragging them around. So if you want subdivision to be the first thing in your list, just take it and move it over in front of address and drop it, and it'll stay that way from that point forward. So any changes that you make to your grid will also save for any of your future logins. All you got to do is just move them around, drop them where you want them, and then it'll leave them there for your future logins. If you want to make any other changes to your grid, you can maximize or minimize these columns here. So if you want to shrink or expand the columns, all you got to do is click and drag on them to move them around. Okay? If you want to sort by any of the columns here, for example, maybe you want to sort by zip code, you just come up there next to zip code and you'll see the little 1 with an arrow there. Go ahead and just click, and that'll sort by that particular field to start out with. Okay. If you want to sort within that field by another field, maybe you want to sort by address or recording date or sale date, you can do multi-tiered sorts here. So you can sort by any of these other fields, and each time you click on a field there, you're just adding another tiered sort to that field. Okay, so there's my second tier, there's my third tier, fourth, so on and so forth. If you want to clear out your sorting at any point, you can come down to the bottom, and there's an Edit Grid button. You just click Edit Grid, and then click Clear Column Sorting, and that'll clear your columns back out and take them back to the default sort. Okay. Also, down there at the bottom in that Edit Grid field, you see the ability to show or hide columns. This is where you can determine exactly what fields are going to be displayed on your grid. So if you want to take fields out, if you want to add other fields in, you can come down here and click on the Show Hide Columns button. Similar earlier when we were building a search form, you'll have the same type of list here of fields that you can include or take out. Again, they're categorized over here on the left by category, so you can quickly find what you're looking for. So if I wanted to add pool to my list here, I could check pool off. It'll put it over here on the list on the right-hand side. I could take that if I wanted to click and drag it and move it around and put it in a particular place. Then I could go ahead and do that and then click Apply. Okay, so now I should have pool out there next to my bedrooms and bathrooms. Okay, there it is. Okay. If I wanted to take that back out, again, just go into Edit Grid, Show Hide Columns, come over here and find pool, and just exit out. All right. And then just make sure you apply your changes, and that'll change the grid. Okay. You'll also notice over here on the left they're all selected by default. If you want to deselect them all, you can simply check the box at the top, and then you can come in and simply choose the ones that you're working with to select just those specific ones. Okay. Down there at the bottom in that same button there, that Edit Grid button, if you've selected individual properties that you want to work with and you want to get rid of all the other ones, there's a toggle in here where you can toggle between to show only the selected rows or to restore the full results list. So if I show only the selected rows, then it's going to get rid of all those other options that I didn't check off, and it's going to leave just those that I did. And if I want to restore that list, I haven't gotten rid of those search results, they're just hidden. If I want to restore the full list, just click the Restore option from that Edit Grid button. So a lot of things you can do down here via the Edit Grid option in the lower center portion of the screen. Okay. We talked about earlier about opening up the reports. If you want to view the reports, you can simply check them off and then click View Reports, and it'll open up any of them that you have checked off, or you can simply double click on any of those properties and it'll open up those properties as well. You do have the ability out here to the right of that to print a property detail report of up to 25 properties at a time. So if you have less than 25 of these selected, this button will be available and you can quickly print out up to 25 property reports at a time without having to go in and open up each individual property report. If you have more than 25 selected, so for example, if I check off all of these, you'll notice the button will gray out down there and you won't have the ability to print those out. Okay. And then the next couple options down here, labels and export. If you want to create mailing labels or if you want to export this data out to a spreadsheet, this is how you'll do it. It works a little differently than it did in Classic, whereas you're not going to have the separate export manager to go to. So when you do your labels and when you do your export, it just works right there on the fly. So if I want to create labels for all of these properties, I can just come down here and click Create Labels, make sure I've got them all checked off. Click Create Labels. It'll go ahead and open up the label window there where you're going to choose what label type you want to print them on, 5160, 5161, or 5162 with the USPS barcode. You can use mixed case or capital letters. There's some different things you can do down here to customize these, whether you want to use the tax billing address or the actual property address, of course, is up to you. Do you want to show the current owner? Do you want to include foreign addresses? Do you want to eliminate duplicate labels? Perhaps you have investors who own multiple properties and you'd like to eliminate the duplicate labels, or you can also create custom labels down there at the bottom. So you're going to do all that right there from the little window that pops up, and then out here to the right, it'll show you how many exports you have allowed this month, how many you've currently exported this month, and then how many you have remaining in that for that monthly count. So you have up to 7,500 per month, and then it'll tell you how many you've done and how many you've got left and how many you're about to export in that current export. If you only want to export a specific range of those records, maybe you had pulled up 200 properties and you only wanted to do the first 50, then you can do a print range from 1 to 50, and it would only create the labels for those particular properties. Okay. Once you click Create here, it's going to go ahead and create that then in a Word document, and then you can go ahead and save that Word document. You can print it out. You can do whatever you want to. Once you've printed that Word document out, you save that and use it however you want to use it on your own computer. Okay. So that's the labels option. Keep in mind, because there's no export manager anywhere, once you do an export, it's not saved. You can't go back and pull it up later. You just have to do that export again. So I'd recommend, for example, labels. If you're going to print these labels out, go ahead and print them out. Once you've got that Word document open on your computer, go ahead and save that Word document somewhere to your hard drive, whether that's your documents or your desktop or whatever. Make sure you save that, because if you have to come back and do it again, it's going to count again towards your monthly limit to do those labels. Okay. Same thing for your exports. If you want to export the data directly out to a spreadsheet, you click the export option down there. You've got two options. You can do a grid or a customized. If you only want to export exactly what's showing here on the grid, then just do the grid option, and that'll export it out to a grid. If you want to do a customized export, click the Customize button here, and this is where you'll be able to come in and choose all of the individual fields that you actually want to export. So maybe you want to export some owner information as well as some location information and some assessment data. You can come in and pick and choose those different fields over here on the left. Okay. You'll check those off. It'll populate those over here on the right, and then you can come down here and do the export. And again, you'll get a count down here of how many exports you have left for the month, how many you're currently exporting, and how many you have already exported. Okay. One of the nice things down here is you can actually save exports. So, and by save exports, I don't mean you're actually saving the data that you're exporting, but you're actually saving a template. So what you can do is you can come in here and create basically an export template and then save it. I'll just call this one template. Give it a name, call it whatever you want to call it, and then click Save. And it'll go ahead and add that to your list of your saved template exports. So later on, if you want to do that same export, you don't have to spend time to come in here and choose all those fields again. You can simply just come in here and load up that template, and it'll populate those fields up there automatically. So again, it's not saving the actual data, but it's saving the template of the fields that you're including in your export. Okay. And when you're ready, go ahead and just click Export, and it'll pop that out into a spreadsheet. Alrighty. Let me delete that template I have in here. So that's kind of a quick look there at your grid. I wanted to just touch on, some of the different things you could do here, your labels, your exports, some of the customization that you can do up here at the top. Let me go back to kind of a split view here. You'll also notice in the center here you have an option to print the grid/map or email the grid/map. And when you drop those down, you can choose, do you want to do the map and the grid together? Do you want to do the map only? Or do you want to do the grid only? So in this case, do I want to just print the map? Do I want to just print the grid? Or do I want to do both? Here, do I want to email the map and the grid? Do I want to email the map only? Or do I want to email the grid only? So you have that choice from the little drop-down options up there above the grid. So that's your grid. Let's do this. Let's take, let me bring the search field back here. And let me clear out everything. And I'm actually going to hide the grid here as well. So we're just going to do the map. Okay. Oops. And then I accidentally scrolled all the way back out. There we go. So I'm going to hide the map, and I'm going to kind of bring it down in here. I'm going to scroll down in a little bit. I want to talk about some of the different things that you can do on the map, some of the different search options and whatnot. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see all of the different map options here. You'll also notice here the parcels are loading by default here. Remember, we had parcels selected in our preferences, so those are loading by default. You can at any point come in here and just click on a parcel without actually putting any search criteria in and get the information for that particular parcel. So it'll give you the owner name, the APN, some buttons here. The little hover window that comes up there gives you the ability to zoom down in on that property. You can pull up the actual estimated lot dimensions there as well. So that's a nice new feature if you want to quickly pull up the lot dimensions to a property. Again, these are estimated based on the mapping program and the parcel layers, but it is a quick way to look at the size of a parcel. And then also you have a link to go view the reports as well. Now, if this particular property that I was looking at was also in the MLS, there would be a couple additional links here. If there was any photos available, I'd be able to pull up the pictures from here. And also a link to take me back to the MLS, a reverse link to go ahead and pull up that listing from the MLS if I want to look at it. Okay. So that's the first thing I wanted to kind of point out is from the map itself, you can come in and you can just hover down into the area that you're looking, and you can just click from parcel to parcel and get information on those properties. So you don't have to actually start with a search. You can always just come in and pull up the map and kind of work your way across the map and find what you're looking for that way. And again, of course, you have the road, aerial, hybrid, and bird's eye images up here as well. So if you want to toggle between any of those different map views, you have that ability as well, okay, including the bird's eye views. Okay. Now, from the map, you can also, up here at the top, you have several options up here to draw tools on the map. So if you want to come in and do a search on the map by drawing a particular area, maybe you want to create labels for everyone in a particular, couple block radius, or maybe you want to search a distance from something. You have the ability up here with using the map tools to draw a radius, a rectangle, a polygon. You can also draw a line, which would allow you to measure distances. And you have an annotation tool here, which allows you to label the map as well. So, for example, the radius tool, to draw these, it'll give you a little instructions over here on the right, but it's easy. It's just clicking on the map once, drag your pointer out, click again, and that'll draw that circle based on those 2 points. So you click once, you click twice, and it will draw that circle based on those points. Now, what you'll see here is when you put a map, or when you put a shape onto the map to search, it's actually going to show up over here in your search criteria on the left-hand side. So you'll see over there where it added this map field. That allows you to, a couple things here to remove it if you'd like. You can come over and clear that out from there if you want to take that circle back off. It also allows you to save that as part of your search as well. So you can save map searches in here as well. So when you come up here and click save, it'll retain whatever you've put on the map there as far as criteria. One of the other things you can do with these maps, these searches, is you can label these. So if I put a circle in here, I can give it a label. I could also delete the shape from here as well. And I can also move these. If you just click and drag them, maybe you draw that circle and you drew it in the wrong point, or the wrong place, you can quickly just click and drag and move it over to where you want to put it without having to clear it out and redraw the circle. Okay. You can also click and drag and resize them as well. So if you want to just click on that little point there, resize the shape, you do have that ability as well. So that's the circle. You go up here and draw a couple other examples here. The rectangle, pretty quick and easy. You just click, drag, and then click again. Okay, so you're clicking, you're releasing, you're clicking again and releasing, and it'll draw that square or rectangle. And then same thing for the polygon, probably the most versatile of the options. If you click back on the original point where you started, that will finish up your polygon. And again, you can take these and again, you can reshape these if you need to. So if I didn't quite do that right, and I want to reshape that a little bit, you have that ability. Okay. So when you've drawn one of these, basically all you have to do is click the rectangle tool here, for example, draw out my area there, and if I just want to see all the properties in that area, just go over here and click search. And boom, it'll go ahead and load up all of those properties. Not only does it load them on the map, but it loads them on the grid as well. So if I were to show the grid view or the split view, I'll have all those properties there as well. Okay. So searching an area is as easy as that. If you just want to go ahead and outline that area, come over here and hit the search button. It'll pull up everything in there. Maybe I want to create labels for these folks. Again, just come down to my grid, do the create labels option, and boom, I can create mailing labels for all the folks that I've outlined in my my search there. Okay. Let me go back to my map here and let me clear this out. Clear my criteria back out here. Also wanted to just point out in these drawing tools options, you have the line tool as well. The line tool allows you to just measure distances. So you click once and it'll measure the segment and the total line length. To stop drawing the line, you just double click on that last point and it stops drawing that line. Okay. If you want to clear your map tools out at any point, any of the map tools that you have drawn, there's a clear all option here, which will clear out anything you loaded on the map, or you can also come in here and do a clear all shapes. The annotation tool is a nice little feature. This allows you to label the map. So if you want to put little labels on there to point out certain things on the map, you click the annotation tool, you click once on the map, and it puts a little cartoon bubble on there, and then you can click inside of it and type in whatever you want to type. So if you want to point out, the park over here, or a school, or a business, or something like that, you'll have that annotation tool. And anything that you include on the map, whether it's an annotation or a shape or any of the overlays that we're going to look at, those will also be included on any of the printouts as well, or the emails if you send from the Realist program. Okay, so I'm going to delete this little annotation tool there. Now we're going to kind of move down the list a little bit here from the drawing tools. The boundaries option allows you to plot out different boundaries like the zip code, the city, the county, the school districts. So for example, I selected zip code. Let me zoom back out here a little bit and get kind of a bigger look at it. So there's your zip code boundaries. Again, city boundaries. County boundaries. And you can see these just kind of load up over top of the map. The school districts. And then also the flood zone maps. So you can overlay the flood zone maps on a particular area, and you'll see it'll cover over the entire area there. You'll get a key down here at the bottom, and if you zoom down in on this map with the flood layers, you'll get the actual flood zone codes themselves, and you'll see up here where it says use control click to see flood data. If you hold your control key down and you click on any of these flood zones, it'll give you a little thing that pops up that shows you the flood zone code, the panel date. Okay, so you just click, hover over those, and it holds your control key down and it pulls up that data in that little flood zone window that comes up there. Okay, so this is how you can kind of zoom down in on a property, see where it lies in relation to those flood zones. Okay. Let me clear everything back out here. So those are your boundary options up there. The next few items here, let me zoom in now a little bit. The property and sales information section, this allows you to plot things on the map, indicators on the map, such as distressed properties, sales, listings, and you click the little option here and you check off what you're looking for, and you'll start to see those populate on the map there. So right now we're plotting some pre-foreclosure auction, bank-owned, and bank-owned sales, so you see a couple of them pop up there. I could then, of course, click on that property and pull it up if I needed to. Okay, so you'll see those little indicators pop up, color-coded based on the status that you've loaded on the map there. Okay, so that's a way to kind of load up those pre-foreclosures, those foreclosure properties, bank-owned sales. Tax listings, if you will just want to load up any sales within the last 3, 6, 9, or 12 months, click that option, and it'll load up any of those indicators as well. So you'll see the little red indicators pop up there on the map. Okay. In addition to the tax sales, you can also do listings. So if you want to pull up active, pending, and expired properties within a certain time period from the MLS, then you'll start to see those load up as well. And I may be in a bad area here as far as an example. Let me zoom back out here. See if we can't get some of these to load up here. There we go. It can take a minute just based on how much it's got to load all those parcel lines first and then all of the indicators above them. So here's some examples of some active listings, some expired listings, pending listing up there, color-coded by status, and then you have little indicators down here as well. So again, you can, of course, click on those properties if you want to pull those up, view the pictures, view the other information, view a property detail report from there. In addition to the listings then, the active and expired and pendings, you can also pull up the MLS sales. So if you want to see what sold via the MLS in the last 3, 6, 9, or 12 months, those will populate. And again, you can combine these too. So if you want to combine the MLS sales with the tax sales and kind of get a look at what sold in the MLS versus what was maybe sold by the owner, or similarly, you can aggregate these on top of each other if you'd like. Up to 6 at a time. You'll see down there at the bottom where it says 2 out of 6. Up to 6 items can be selected on the map at a time, and that's any of the items that you've used over here on the right-hand side, whether that's a boundary, shape tool, indicators, anything like that, up to 6 at a time. And then the last items here, zoom down here a little bit, the property characteristics. This is where you can go in and label the parcels with things like the lot area, the APN, the bedrooms and bathrooms, the building area, the owner's name, the address, the real AVM value. Okay. So you can overlay those on top of the properties as well. Okay. So that's all within the little push pin there, the property and sales information. The last couple items here on the map, and then the trends. Let me zoom out a little bit. This allows you to kind of load up some heat maps and trend values on your maps, things like sale price, home value, sales activity. It'll be aggregated by zip code by default. And let me zoom back out here. So if I do sales activity by zip code, then I can kind of see the hotter and the cooler areas there based on the number of sales that have taken place in those particular areas. So you get kind of an aggregate look. Again, you can use the control click there to get the information for that particular section. So it shows you the duration, the date, the value. So there was 146 sales in this particular zip code, and it's using a combo property type, single family and condo as well. Okay. So those are kind of some sales trends that you can load up there: median sale price, home value, sales activity, number of homes in foreclosure, percentage of homes in foreclosure. You can change the property type if you'd like, and you can also change the opacity level of these to make them brighter or more see-through or less see-through on your map. Okay. The last couple items here then, the points of interest. If you load up any of these and it tells you to zoom in, that means you need to be a little bit closer to the map in order to use them. For example, points of interest here. So if I want to load up any of these different points of interest, gas stations, education, healthcare, shopping, postal services, it'll load those up on the map. You can come in and click on those then and get more information on any of those particular points of interest. And then the last item here, driving directions. If you want to get turn-by-turn driving directions on the map, you can type in the address if you'd like, or I feel it's probably easiest to just come out here. You can do a right-click on the map and do a drive from, and then right-click and do a drive to, and then go ahead and plot your directions there. Okay. So it'll pull up the directions here. If you want to print those out or email those from there, you can going forward. Okay. And then clear those out when you're done. So those are the map tools up there on the right-hand side of the map. Okay. And keep in mind, it's a little different than Classic because you don't have to put criteria in over here to start. You can just start with the map if you'd like. You go into the map, zoom down in, click on parcels, put overlays on there, put indicators on the map. Use your map searching tool to pull up properties in a particular area by the shape that you've drawn. So you don't have to start with your search criteria over here. That's just another option. You can come in on the map and just start from there. Okay. Alrighty, I believe that is going to wrap it up for us. So we wanted to come in and just kind of show you the new Realist program. Like I said, that's going live next week on Tuesday. You will, again, like I said, have the ability to get back to the Classic version for a short time period after we go live. So if you need to get back in there and you're not quite familiar with the new program yet, but starting next week when you go into Realist, you'll be brought into the new version and you can do all your new searches and new options that are available that we covered today. So that's what I have for you today. I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming to the webinar. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a good day. Thank you.